session. So this afternoon session is it's something that I've discussed with our own students a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, and I thought I'd just open this up to everyone. It's just a bit of advice on your final year or third year at UNISA, or at any university, but this is specifically UNISA because there is a big jump from second year to third year. So whether you are in your final year, your third year at UNISA Bcompt, or whether you're repeating this or doing this for the first time, or if you're in the advanced diploma in accounting sciences, so that's that ADAS you see on the screen, this is for you. And we cover mostly those four main modules: MANAC, FANAC, auditing, and tax. I know there's two others that they recently added, I think 2 years ago, but this is just how to study for all four of those core modules. So I am Francois. I'm a chartered accountant. I've been lecturing various subjects, but mostly management accounting for more than 15 years at various universities, including Stellenbosch, University of the Western Cape, the School of Business and Finance at UWC, and at Tabaldi for the last 8 years. So I have a lot of experience in teaching, and I've also tutored at UNISA. So I understand what it requires to do this. And let me tell you, it's worth it to become a CA, but it's a difficult road. And the most difficult is your CTA year. And if you follow the advice that I give tonight for your third year, you'll not only be successful in your third year, but you'll have a very good foundation for your CTA year, which is definitely the most difficult. Once you've passed CTA, ITC, or the IAC, is not that tricky. The CTA is the most difficult one. But more recently, in the past, UNISA had, I'm running ahead. So what we'll chat about tonight, or this afternoon quickly, is your final year versus your second year. So if you've passed second year and now moving into final year, or yeah, that's basically it. Why students fail their final year, because if you know why you'll fail, you can fix it before you get there. How you should approach this year, that how to use our classroom, I'll quickly chat about at the end, and then how to study your theory. And yeah, that asking questions was also mostly for our own students, but I'll quickly mention that. So, about what was this? 3 or 4 years, UNISA made a big change to the third year module. So some of you might have done some of the semester modules, and those were very close to second year. So the jump used to be from third year to CTA, where second year was fairly straightforward. I mean, you've passed that, well, most likely passed it if you're in third year now. And the way they ask it, or the way they present it, or the examples and the tuts is very similar to the final exam. So it wasn't that difficult to pass. Yes, it's longer, and yes, there might be some tricky stuff there, but it's mostly straightforward. Whereas CTA was the difficult one. And then a few years back, they changed third year to be much closer to CTA, but then the jump from second year was much bigger. And that's why students started failing, especially there's a lot of repeat students for MANAC and FINAC every year. And then because they basically combined the semester modules and then even combined some of the year modules into one, like financial accounting. And those are the ones that we see the most repeat students for. So second year was more straightforward, and you could get away with memorizing stuff, the formats, the calculations, and if I see this, then I do that. And you could pass that way and even do quite well. But in third year, that won't work. In third year, a lot of the topics are not new. So if you've passed second year, you know 80% of the theory already. But there might be a problem with your foundational knowledge, and that's where I think our courses are brilliant. So if you have a foundational, this is not a marketing thing. At the end, I'll throw in the marketing stuff. But if your foundation is not that strong, you could pass second year, but then third year is going to be a problem. But the other problem is the way they ask the stuff in third year. It's more discussion type questions. It's not as direct. So they might ask you something. I'll show you an example just now where they ask you something, but they're actually asking something completely different. And if you miss it, you lose 20 out of the 100 marks. And that happened in management accounting in the final exam last year, which I'll show you because I went through a lot of people's exams and gave them feedback. So there's a lot of marks for application and communication and not just the theory or the calculations. So Students fail because they underestimate the importance of doing questions. They think I must go through all the theory, and there's a lot of theory. And like I said, you've done all the theory before, so you don't really need to go through it before you do questions. But they think, go through all the theory, and then at the end, if there's time left, I'll start doing questions, and then I'll write the exam. And the problem is you never get to the questions because you run out of time. So it's so important to start questions right from the start. I would say even do a second year question from your final exam from second year. Do that before you start a topic and see if you can do it without the solution. If you can't, then you know there's a big problem. And then as you go through the theory for that topic, you already know what is the stuff that you struggle with and what is the stuff that you need to revise. But if you just go through theory and you've already done it last year, a lot of it's going to seem familiar and you're going to feel like, wow, this is not that bad. I'm making progress. You tick off topics and you're thinking you're studying, but you're not really studying because you've done all this before. You need to do a question. So if you haven't done a question under exam conditions yet, I feel you haven't started preparing for third year at all yet. Yeah, that is the thing that you need to get to. So another reason is, and it ties into this, is students stay in their comfort zone. Like, I know work is difficult, life is hectic, we're all struggling, and now you have to also study and you're tired. So when you get to a study session and you feel like that, it's so easy to just pick up the easy stuff, the theory. You go through stuff that you've done before, you think you'll revise, and you don't really get to what will move the needle in an exam. So if you feel a study session is easy or comfortable, you're probably not making a lot of progress. So you have to feel that discomfort at least a few times a week as you study. And then another reason is students get stuck on the higher grade stuff. So you might see something new in third year. You haven't tested your foundational knowledge yet, you haven't done a question on a topic yet. So say it's PPE or whatever, you haven't done a basic question yet in your third year prep now, because you want to study all the new hectic higher grade stuff. But remember, in every exam or test, 60 to 70% of the stuff will be for easy marks. They have to do that, otherwise everyone will fail. So there's easy marks, and then so if you know the foundational stuff, the easy stuff, the basics of each topic, you should be able to pass. You might not do well, and then there's the higher grade stuff that comes on top of it. So don't get hung up on the higher grade stuff. Yes, you have to do it. There's a few topics, like for instance in cost volume profit analysis in Mac. Um, the normal break-even stuff is exactly the same, but then they maybe add two products, multi-product break-even. So yes, that's a new thing, and you have to know it, but the foundational stuff is still the most important. Um, and let's show you an example of a question that they asked in the third year final exam. And then I'd say about definitely more than half, but maybe 3/4 of the students that I gave feedback on missed this question, or and you'll see it now and you'll think, wow, I'll never miss this. But in a test, if you're not comfortable with doing questions that you haven't seen before, this is the type of marks that you miss. So for 18 marks, 20% of the paper, they said based on the principles of capital budgeting. So what is that? What is the principles? What is the first thing that you think of? It's net present value calculation. And how do you know that? It's because you've done lots of net present value calculations. So based on principles of capital budgeting, so they haven't said anything what you need to do. Advise this company whether it's financially beneficial to acquire the TV rights. So it's an investment decision. It's a capital budgeting decision, but they said based on capital budgeting principles. So that means what they're actually asking here is you need to do a net present value calculation for 18 marks. Sorry, I'm just admitting more students here. I just want to quickly look at the chat. There's echo feedback. Ooh, I'll just quickly check my sound settings. I only have one. I'm just checking if my cell phone maybe didn't connect. I hope not. Uh, MacBook speakers. Doesn't look like it. Can everyone else hear me fine? Someone said there's some echo. Thank you so much, Felicia. Okay, so back to this question. So they said based on capital budgeting principles, advise whether they should invest or not. So what are they asking? second year, they would have said, calculate the net present value for the TV investment, the TV rights investment, and advise whether they should invest or not. But they'll also have a separate question. They'd say, calculate the weighted average cost of capital using market values as your weighting. Those are the two things that they ask here. Most students tried some weighted average cost of capital because they mentioned they calculate WACC, but they left out the net present value calculation. And then maybe they advised, but remember the main thing here, they asked one thing, advise, yes or no, should they invest? So technically, if you didn't advise, if you didn't say yes or no, you should get 0 marks for this. And a lot of students, I think, did get 0 for this. So what in second year they would have said, calculate the WACC using market values, 10 marks. Calculate the net present value and advise whether they should invest based on your answer. Another 20 marks, maybe 30 marks for this. Here it's 18 marks. Boom, advise based on capital budgeting principles. So, and this you will only get if you do lots of questions, but you can't do questions by looking at the solution alongside it, because then you'll see net present value in the solution. You'll say, oh, do the net present value, but you didn't read the question. You saw it in the solution and you thought, okay, I can do this, and then you did it. But in an exam, you don't have that benefit of looking at the solution to get started. You have to decipher or decode what they said on the in the required, like this on the screen. So that's why it's vital that you do lots of questions early on, so you can see this is the type of stuff they ask, and that's what they give as the solution. So, and then do I know this or not? So I'll show you just now how to do a question. I'm not going to do a question, but I'm going to give you an example. So your approach, some students ask me to prepare the study schedule, and now I can't do that. Everyone works at their own pace. They have different um, family and work commitments. So what you should do is you get the assessment dates from UNISA. I know some of them are not out. I know I have some of them. But it like for financial accounting, for instance, they only start late in April, and they want you to start studying in the beginning of April. But you can finish learning unit 1 to 5 now, long before April. You can do it before the middle of March if you want. So get ahead, but try to go through all the topics that you write your first test on. You can even start working ahead because it's quite late in the year, but that is at the minimum. So for instance, for FINAC 3764, do learning unit 1 to 5, spread it out over the few weeks. You can do one of two things. Cram the theory quickly. So quickly go through your notes and whatever videos you have, or if you're in our courses, cram the video lectures. We did that to save you time. You don't have to worry about your textbooks or your UNISA notes if you're in our courses. And then quickly jump into questions immediately after that. So try to do questions under exam conditions on that topic. So do learning unit 1, do questions, then learning unit 2, then questions, not 1 to 5 theory and then questions at the end. So the other option, which is I think is even better, if you do a topic that you've done before, like for instance PPE or whatever, start with a question, even if it's a second year question, your final exam question, or any TAT that you can get, or a third year question if you want. Do it. If you get 20% for it, that's fine. Then at least you learn from it. But do a question, preferably one you have a solution for, and then analyze why you failed it, and then go through the theory for that topic, because then you will understand what it is that's lacking. And you'll definitely save time this way because you will be more productive in your study session. So at least one question on any topic before you move on to the next topic. So how to study theory? Don't waste your time on stuff you know. I know it's difficult because you might think, oh, I can't remember like break even or CPC, whatever in auditing. Just do a question on it and see how much you remember. And if you really then struggle and you can't remember anything, then by all means go through the theory. But if you go into a topic, always ask yourself why. Oh, if you need to just mute yourself, please. Thank you so much. So when you dive into a topic, make sure that you understand the what and the why of the topic. So by that, I mean, think of a real life company. If it's auditing, think of a company you're auditing. If it's financial accounting, think of financials you're preparing for a company. If it's tax, think of a tax client that you're helping. And if it's MANAC, think of your own business. why is this topic there? Like break even. Why do we worry about break evens? Because we want to know, are we going to cover our fixed costs? And how precarious is our profit? So we might be making a profit, but if it moves slightly, will we start making a loss? How many units do we need to sell if we start open a bicycle store in order to just break even? So if you understand the what and the why is this topic here and what are we doing? Then the steps become much easier. The memorizing, the how to, the actual calculations and the discussion. So first, what and why before you do the how. So don't memorize any steps. Don't if you find yourself doing, if I see this, then I must do that. If I see this, then I must remember to do this. If you try to study that way, you're going to waste the whole year. You're going to waste a lot of time because you can't memorize stuff that you don't understand. And our courses were developed that way. All the lectures is easy to understand, and we focus on the basics and simple to understand language so that you understand, and you don't have to memorize. That's why we also don't have a lot of study notes. It's mostly the slides, but because we want you to just sit and listen. So make sure that you can use the theory to score marks. Otherwise, you might as well not memorize it. So you have to do a question. That's the only way you know whether you can score marks with the theory that you've done. And then also make the mistakes early while the stakes are low. What I mean by that is if you fail a test, that's bad for your year mark and you might not get into the exam. If you fail the final exam, that's very bad because then you have to repeat. But if you fail a practice question sitting at home or at work after work or in lunch break, no one sees it. It's only you that mark it and you get 15% for it. Who cares? You learn from it. If you get 100% for a question, then you probably didn't learn anything at all. So if you fail a question, see it as a learning opportunity and try to figure out why. And next time you don't have to pass it. You just have to get 5 or 10% more. So if you get 20% now, next time you get 30%, that's an improvement. And that's how you get to passing at the end. So this example, I love to use this. I used a beer making example in the past or baking bread or whatever, but this was an old Land Cruiser of mine that I had a couple of years back. I love working on old cars. I'm not a mechanic. And I wanted to fix this hub. It was leaking. And I watched videos. There's lots of videos on this specific old Land Cruisers, exactly this model. And I watched probably about 50 videos, and all the videos explain it very well, like our Tabaldi videos. It's like super easy, basic. Anyone can do it if you watch the videos. And after watching 50 or whatever videos, I started feeling like an expert. But I haven't tried anything yet. I haven't gotten my tools out even because I worry, I stress. Maybe I'm going to break something. Maybe I'm not ready yet. Just watch another video. I'm lazy. It's hot outside, whatever. Maybe it's going to cost me money if I find a broken part. It's all these fears that we think. So we just put off the actual doing and just watch the videos because I'm making progress. I'm becoming an expert on rebuilding my hubs. So what happens? Finally, at one point, I had to fix it because we wanted to go on vacation with this thing. And I start, and there's these little washers, cone washers, and they just wouldn't come out. And I was like, what? No one in the videos mentioned that those are a problem. But because it's so old and they rusted in there, I just couldn't get them out. So then I started watching videos on how to get those swivel washers out. And I started texting friends that knows about cars and asking mechanics and made my own tools. And eventually I got it fixed. But this took me probably about a month and it should have taken me a weekend. What should I have done? I should have watched one video and said, yes, it looks pretty simple. Then tear into the thing, get stuck, and watch another one video on how to get the swivel, those little cone washers out. And then um, probably one other video on how to make a tool to do it. And that's it. That way I could have progressed a lot faster instead of watching hours and hours and hours of theory videos and never get to the actual questions. Now imagine this was an exam. If you start with the actual exam and fail it and then brush up on the theory, then it will be much easier. Another example is if you think of um, an obstacle course. At the end of the year, UNISA is going to say you have to do this obstacle course. There's going to be 20 obstacles. There might be some pull-ups. There might be some monkey bars or ropes or mud crawling under whatever. So there's going to be an obstacle course, and you need to train for it. You need to get fit and get strong and get the right techniques going. If someone said, at the weekend, we'll go and show you the obstacle course. We'll take you for a tour. You can actually even try everything and see if you can do it. And then you can go study for the year and then you can come back and complete it. Would you take the opportunity? And everyone would say yes. It doesn't make sense to say, no, 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 I don't want to see it. I don't want to try it. I don't want to try to pull myself up on the rope, which is impossible for me. I thought it's going to be easy and it's not. So uh, you won't say, no, I don't want to see it. I don't want to go and try it. I just want to train on my own and then at the end surprise me and we'll see how do I do. That it just doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what we usually do when it comes to studying. And it's because our brain wants to keep us comfortable and safe and in our comfort zone. So what Tabaldi offers as study support is online video lectures covering 99% of the UNISA syllabus in detail. We check the syllabus and all the topics in the syllabus is in our classroom. You can start whenever you want. If you're not ready yet, you can start in April. You can start early. Some students are in here since December. It doesn't matter when you start because you will work at your own pace. There's lecturer support via direct email. And there's webinars like these, study advice, exam technique. It's not a theory lessons, it's like tonight. And that depends on the demand. And then this is what the classroom looks like. There's a very old video of me. Manic doesn't change. So, but anyways, so there's a menu on the left, and you can watch the videos in any order. And like I said, it's best to skip ahead. If, like, for instance, applied manufacturing overheads, this is something many students struggle with in third year because they didn't have a solid foundation second year. But if you do remember it from second year, you just skip this on the left and watch the rest of the videos. So it was made to save you time. So how to use the classroom, watch the videos once just for understanding. Don't make notes, don't rewind, just watch it quickly and then do questions. And then go back if you want to rewatch something. So our videos are usually just one principle at a time, not a whole 30-minute lecture. It's just 5 to 10 minutes each. So it's easy to do a question and then just go and watch the videos that you feel you need to. And then leave out the revision because there's a lot of secondary revision in there. So you don't have to do that if you are comfortable. So start today. Don't wait until April before you start. Consistency. Don't cram at the end. Do questions every week and revise for understanding, not to memorize any steps. If you have any questions, please contact us at info@tabaldi.org and I'll be happy to answer you. I am going to post this recording if this was a bit fast or if the sound wasn't great. Thank you for joining for tonight. I'm not going to take questions now because I have to run, but if you have any questions, please email me and I'm happy to chat with you via email. Thank you for joining and have a great evening.